The sermon you're about to hear was originally presented live by Edgar Cayce on Sunday, September 24th, 1929, at the Cayce Hospital. However, no audio version of the sermon was captured at the time. This reenactment is done by professional narrator Ron Murphy. All the words in this narration are taken directly from the transcript of Edgar Cayce's 1929 sermon. What is truth? We have spoken on various subjects from Sunday to Sunday. From time to time, I have been speaking of the things that have had to do principally with the material things of life, or have to do with the material, putting them in such a way and manner that we may be able to use them in our everyday life. As I have said, I am going to try to talk to you this afternoon about truth, or what is truth. I realize I am assuming a big job. I've read very little of the philosophers of the ages, yet we know that throughout the ages there has been the continual cry of what is truth. We often hear it said that truth is evasive, truth is naked, truth will not be downed. But what is truth? If we turn to the books of the New Testament, we remember that possibly the greatest moment in history was when Pilate asked of the Master, "What is truth?" See John 18:38. Possibly that was the only time it could have been answered in one or two words that would have at least satisfied the greater portion of the thinking world today. But Pilate did not wait for the answer. Yet we know that the Master said, "He came that he might show the way unto truth." All right, then we know truth is something that we may be shown. When we speak of a truth, or the truth, or truth, possibly we mean different things. You will remember, those of you who have read the little story of the three men of Hindustan who went to see the elephant, but all three men were blind. Now that's us. We are all blind. Yet we are seeking the truth, and we are very much in the same position as those three men who went to see the elephant. One of these stumbled against the side of the elephant, and he said, "I perceive without a doubt the elephant is very like a wall." Wasn't that the truth to him? Another one, as he stumbled about, found the elephant's trunk and said, "I perceive with a certainty that the elephant is very like a tree." The third man, as he stumbled about, got hold of the tail, and he said, "I perceive the elephant is very much like a rope." Now, were they in error? Did they have the truth? Or did they have only a portion of the truth? Did they have any of the truth? We often say that any movement of any kind succeeds insofar as it has a portion of the truth. We may be sure that's truth. Then don't worry because you disagree with any individual as to what your conception of any movement may be. Don't think anyone is going to hell because he doesn't think as you do. Remember the three blind men who went to see the elephant? Just know that people may be right, but wrong as you would see it with your eyes wide open. Life in its projection into this material plane has been a constant growth. Then, if we are to believe the things that have been presented to us, and as they are presented to us, we know that even truth itself may be a growth into that understanding which we will be able to apply in our everyday life. I am sure we believe God is love. Our love for a person, then, is an expression of that force, the manifested force, that we define as love. Here was an experience that came to a man. He was very much in love with his wife. He thought more of her than anything in the world. But God saw fit to take her home. When the man erected a monument in the cemetery, he had this inscribed on it: "The light of my life has gone out." He couldn't find anything that could reconcile him about his separation. After a while, he met a young lady he fell very much in love with. Then he found that he was altogether mistaken about his first love being able to satisfy everything in his life. There was something else that had been added. He had gained the knowledge of someone else being able to fill up a portion of his life. The young lady, knowing about this inscription, said to him, "I might consent to be your wife, but I don't think I could ever do that as long as the inscription remains as it is." So he went about to find a man who could correct this for him. When the man who had charge of such things told him he saw how he could rectify this inscription, the man went ahead with the wedding. When they came back from their honeymoon, they went out to see how the inscription read. This is what they found. "The light of my life has gone out, but I've struck another match." So you see, there are individual experiences of truth. When we read or get an idea of some particular thought or some particular rule, we gradually build into ourselves an idea that we have gotten the whole thing. Now, is truth such a thing that those who have been followers of Mohammed have all the truth? Have those who have been the followers of Moses, the lawgiver, all of the truth? Or hasn't it been rather a growth in our individual lives? And what may be truth for one individual may not, in the experience of another individual, answer at all. Does that make the other any less true for the other individual? Did this man love the second woman any less from his experience of being in love before? Then if this be true, is it possible that truth is a changeable thing, a growth? Will it be possible for us to find something of which we can say, "This is truth," and know it will answer in everything or in every way that life may present itself to us? I believe that we can. You may differ with me. I don't think, however, that you will be able to refute what will be my definition, or what I will be able to say is truth. Many of you will say, "Well, have you been given some peculiar power that you have knowledge of what truth is?" Let's see if this will not answer the whole question in our lives. First, we must know that if we are to accept any word of any follower as a truth, or the truth, or truth, we must be sure of the authority that we quote. We must be sure of our foundation or platform for what we have assumed. Where would we begin, as we would say, in assuming something is being true? We must recognize these facts in our lives. There is a physical body, and there is a spiritual body. We know the physical body is dependent upon its physical attributes for its development. It is also the temple or the dwelling place of the spiritual body. The spiritual body, we know, is of the Creator, whatever we may call the Creator. It comes from the same thing, even if we go back to scientific reasoning and say it begins from the lowest form of life. Wherever we begin, we have to say there is something beyond that where it is developed, whether you believe in evolution, creative evolution, or whatnot. All reasoning has to go back to the very same thing. And if I can answer this at all, I don't believe I'm wrong in saying that you can reason from any standpoint you want to take, but this is truth, that which, when kept before your mental mind and your spiritual mind, will continue to develop you upward. Now let's see if this applies to any of the phrases that may present themselves, and if it answers any of the questions you would want to ask. That which, held before your mental vision, will continue to develop you upward. Not that which satisfies selfish purpose, no. Not that which tells you whether it is wrong to go fishing on Sunday or not, or to play baseball on Sunday. Not that which answers such questions. It furnishes answers, yes, but that which will continue to develop you upward. All right then, what do we mean by developing upward? That which will enable you to hold the vision of what you worship as your God. Every man, every individual, every object has its conception of its superior position. We would ask then, well, would it answer the Indian who is looking for his happy hunting ground? Why wouldn't it answer? That which will enable him to hold before him what he worships as his God is truth to him. Now, what have we assumed or taken for granted? We have taken for granted that man has a mind, that man has a body, a physical body, and a spiritual body. He has a soul, if you please. His soul, or his spiritual body, is controlled by his subconscious or his spiritual mind. Whatever continues to hold before the individual that which he worships as his God will continue then to develop the individual towards that which he worships. Then you will say, what would have been the Master's answer to Pilate's question? Would it not be, I came into the world to do no other than conduct you into that which is truth? Truth, then, is not a thing that we can see or perceive with the ears or body senses, but truth is the essence with which an individual builds faith, hope, and trust. That is truth, that essence which we are enabled to hold before our mental vision. Will it build your body? It will. Will it heal the sick? It will. A few days ago, I was talking to some people who told me about a book that had been written by some of the masters from the Far East. I had never seen the book before, but when I opened it to read it, I knew what was in it before I read it. I don't know how nor why, but I knew the experiences I was going to encounter. Within the first 4 or 5 pages, I found that in this book one thought was stressed. What you hold before yourself to create the image you worship, that is what will develop you always upward and will continue to enable you to know truth. Truth, then, being a growing thing, truth being a thing that will develop you, is a something that is entirely in action. That's what God is. For in every movement that has ever been, there has been a continual upward development, upward toward that which is truth. If you hold malice, you can become one of the meanest persons in the world. You know that if you continue to send out thought, which may become a miracle or a crime, you create those very same cross currents in your own mind. What is prayer but simply attuning yourself to that through which you are seeking assistance? That's all prayer is, the attunement to that very same thing, and that becomes truth when it becomes an action. When it goes into action, to you it becomes truth. It's your own conception of what your God is. If it makes you better in relationship to the very thing you worship, if it makes you more in accord with what you worship, then that is what you become. Whether it's downward or upward, you go whichever way your standard is set. Now, as to who is to say whether you are building up or how near it brings you to what you worship as your God, because God is truth, whatever you continue to hold, you develop toward. Someone else whose God might be something else wouldn't find this to be his truth. I've been studying a long while, trying to understand what is meant by the second commandment. And until the other night, I never did understand what it meant, that is, satisfactorily in my own mind. The first commandment, as we know, is, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and thy mind. See Deuteronomy 10:12 and Matthew 22:37. The second is, Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. See Exodus 24. Why not? Because if you make an image, it becomes your God. But if you have for your God that which is within your own individual self, you yourself being a portion of the Creator, you will continue to build upward to it.